quick flow.
So what else is going on? You're still doing counseling?
Yeah.
With kind of more of an Apache
Gold.
Warhawk.
Little gold.
Oh, you
on
know,
it?
I guess
You're so
gold
kind.
would
Thank
probably,
you.
we don't have to do the, okay.
All right. Well, let's get started. Call the meeting to order. And Commissioner Collins, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Be my pleasure. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Salgin,
Present.
West,
Here.
Van Essen, Collins,
Here.
Stevenson.
Here.
Thank you. Director Zeidevart, do we have any changes for the evening?
No, we do not.
Very good. We are a planning commissioner down tonight, and would like to publicly thank Gary Barton for his service to our commission, and congratulate him to his appointment to the city council, and wish him well as he continues to serve our city. Yes, thank you, Gary. At this time, we open the floor up for public comment. If there's anybody that would like to make a comment to the commission for something that is not on our agenda, you're welcome to take the microphone if you'd like. Seeing none, we will move on. Our minutes. Did we have a chance to look at the minutes from our last meeting? And do we have any questions, or do we have a motion on that?
I will move to approve.
Okay. Let's see, we get to vote.
We need a second.
Okay.
We need a second.
And Deborah, did you already hit yours?
We don't have a second.
Okay, second. Very good. And we can vote to approve. Very good.
Narrowly passed.
Yes, they are adopted. Thank you.
Controversial.
Two slackers.
I was in Hawaii.
Welcome back. Okay, so we just have a discussion item tonight, it looks like. Director, would you like to introduce that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. What's in front of you tonight is an amendment to a previously approved major site review permit, a major site plan permit for the Kaizen River development. In April of 2021, the commission did approve an industrial Business Park project on Doak Boulevard. The applicant has now resubmitted with some amendments to that. They've picked up a couple other parcels, made the project a little bit bigger. I won't go through all the logistics of it. It's all in the staff report, so hopefully you've had a chance to read through that. The project did go through a couple things here I'll point out. So it was a 3.2 acre site. Now it's 4.8 acres, a little bit larger. It went from 4 parcels to 6 parcels. The building square footage was 48,900. Now they're proposing 61,660. One thing to note, the parking spaces did go from 87 to 138, but of particular note is the ratio went up. They were at 1.78 spaces per 1,000 square foot of building with the previous project, which did meet our standards. However, they're at 2.24 now, so that gives them some more options of businesses that could locate in the industrial park there. The landscaping did go down slightly because of an extra building there, but it's still above our minimum requirement. And then just access to the site and circulation in and throughout the site did improve. They had 1 access point for the entire site previously. Now they have 3 with circulation around all the buildings. So the elevations and the architecture stayed the same. Can you pop up the plan there? So this is the new site plan, obviously showing the added building. So there is 4 buildings there total. The previous site plan was the smaller footprint. You can see there's just the 3 buildings versus the 4. There's the 3 access points that I talked about. They will be modifying the easternmost access point just to make sure they can meet setbacks for this building, which is 20 feet. So previously they had the 1 access point here in the middle. So a lot better access and circulation throughout the site. This is kind of the rendering of the new site plan here in front of you. Like I said, the architecture and the elevation stayed the same for the buildings that was proposed previously, so I'll just quickly go through those for you. These are contractor suites, so they do have roll-up doors on them, man doors. They will be all plumbed to have their own bathrooms in them when they get tenants coming in. So just quickly go through those there for you. So not a lot changed. Like I said, it did get bigger. Height of the building stayed the same, and all the site's amenities are the same as well. They do have 3 trash enclosures, or 2 shown on the site plan. There will be a 3rd one as a condition of approval that would be added in. But other than that, I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman. I'd be happy to answer questions. The applicant's here as well, if you want to have any questions of them.
Very good, thank you. Technically speaking, is this a public session, or is this just discussion on our part?
It's just a major site plan review, so it's not, you don't have
Not a
to open
public
it to the public. If public does want to get up though, we typically open it up, but
Very
not a public hearing though.
That was my assumption. Very good. Questions for the director? Nothing? Okay.
I met with him
It's
earlier.
pretty cut and dry. I mean, with better access, all the setbacks are being met. I like the look of it. Would the applicant like to address us? Nope, you guys are good. Okay, very good. Probably a wise move at this point. Not a lot to debate here. Well, that being the case, would someone like to make a motion on this? Or it looks like it meets our findings, but,
We have one other gentleman. Did anybody want to speak in opposition, or?
well, it's not a public hearing, so
Okay.
we don't have to do that.
Tim, one quick question for you, if you don't mind. So when it came up with the original proposal, the only objection we had was on the buildings that parallel, there's a parallel area and then there's a lot behind it. And the concern was the noise level, even though they've got the black wall, okay, only in a building that would parallel that area. Would it be too much? And we had, you know, at that point, I had asked if possible, would you consider doing some simple, inexpensive soundproofing back there? Do you anticipate that that would add any value to the homeowners in that area? Is that a reasonable thought, or correct me if you don't mind?
Please do. Yeah. Thank you.
I didn't know we could go past.
And
My
then please
name's-
state your name and address, if you would.
My name's Nick Seward, 22435 Gear Avenue, Helmar, California. I'm the architect on the project. Yeah, so are you talking about sound control at the building level, or actually putting it on the CMU wall or somewhere in that area to address the noise?
I would say only at the building. The only one that concerns me at all, it's Nick, right?
Yeah.
Nick, the only one that really concerns me is the one that parallels.
Yeah, building C.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
or
not
so.
both sides. It's only the one that's facing, I think it's D. Padrini as the street.
Yeah, so what we did there was, I know the client is planning to put in kind of like some insulation at the beginning, not necessarily what the amount that would be required, you know, if there was a tenant in the space, but just to kind of control the conditioning, you know, and the condensation of the building. And so when a tenant goes in there, we will likely put in more insulation, which will help with that sound barrier. The other thing that we did too is we only have man doors on there, and that's just for egress purposes. So we don't have any roll-up doors like we do on other buildings on both sides. So that was another way to kind of just minimize the amount of openings that we had along that wall, because we knew that that was a concern from the last planning commission meeting that we had. And then I think as tenants come in, you know, the only thing that we could do is we could look at, you know, some potential sound measures with materials. The building's kind of all metal siding, you know, on the exterior, so we'd have to try and control that from the inside, you know, from noise going outward. But that's kind of the mitigation levels that we've used so far on this project.
Do you have insulation that will absorb some sound? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you want to finish up?
Do you have some insulation that
Yeah.
could absorb some sound? Any thoughts of any type of sheeting or anything? You know, you don't have to go to the real, you know.
Yeah, so it's not gonna have any sheathing on it, cause it's the metal building's taking all the structural lateral, load, but we could look at like some drywall products that would provide some sound, you know, on the inside there. These are contractor suites, so a lot of times what you do in contractor suites is you'll put up plywood along the walls, at least 8 feet tall, you know, so that way you have something that you can like nail racks to, or tools, things like that. So we could look at a different product other than plywood, you know, that would help provide, you know, more sound dampening. Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is, you know, from my experience and expertise, the biggest thing is mainly with any openings. You know, that's just a direct transfer of noise out the building. And so we really tried to, you know, we're really only showing the doors for egress sake, you know, in case we have a tenant that would need that second door depending on their occupant load. So other than that, we really tried not to do we didn't do any overhead doors along there, so. But yeah, we can certainly look at other ways.
So you said likely if you get occupants, you're planning on getting occupants.
I guess what I mean by that is, when we do get occupants, that's when we would address the sound. Because we need to see what the use is. They'd have to go through through the building department.
As a contractor, you generally don't build out the interior of the suite until you have an occupant, then you'd know how to address sound issues based on.
Yeah, so it's a shell, so depending on what the use is, if it's a contractor that's just using it for storage, you know, or something like that, storage of materials, and they're not doing any production inside of there, they're not really gonna be making any noise. So we can determine that once we have the tenant lined up, and figure out what that use is gonna be. But if it's a contractor that's building cabinets, you know, or something like that, and they use that shop to build their cabinets in, or some other form, you know, like maybe welding, something like that, then we we could look at that specific use and then control sound that way
Makes sense that,
at that time.
yeah, that you would do it in that fashion and perhaps a quiet rock or something like that.
Yeah, there's different types of
Inside,
sheetrock that you
yeah.
could use to help control.
Good.
Cool. One other question, Nick. I see there an emergency access. Is that going to, or for Ken, is that emergency access going to be paved all the way to the road at this time, or is it just going to terminate right there?
It'll terminate right there. They don't control the site on the west of it.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's another thing, because it's emergency access, they can't have yard space out there, so there's no outside yard space behind that building.
Oh, nice. Are you going to gate that emergency access?
I
don't need
don't
to,
know
I'm
if
just
we've
curious.
received that requirement from Dennis. We will have to have it gated at our property line, but I don't know if we have to necessarily gate it, at the, east side of the building. I imagine that would come up as a plan check comment if fire wanted to see that happen. They haven't mentioned that. So on the previous one, we talked about that.
Yeah.
But this one, since we have more access points, I'm not sure if they're gonna necessarily require us to gate it. We'll definitely have to stripe it red, essentially that whole curb up against the building.
Gotcha. Thank you, Nick.
And so, Nick, you guys have, as before, you have seen all the conditions of approval, and assuming that, I'm gonna assume that you agree with them and are willing to stick by exactly what you've negotiated with the city then.
Yep.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody
Thank
else? Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Would someone like to make a motion on this?
Would you guys be comfortable if I just added that one little clause, if reasonable, add soundproofing at the back of that one building? Would you? Okay, good.
I don't have an issue with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Then I will make that.
I have a question for Ken, too.
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, Ken, with this, as they get occupants, they come to the city, they notify you which type of occupants they are, and from there you determine the sound barriers? Or is that goodwill?
Yeah, so they'll actually submit tenant improvement plans to the building department at the point in time. So they'll have to pull building permits and build out the inside of the suite, depending on what their needs are. So
And Ken, that building, that one is, what number is on that building? C. So if it's acceptable, I will make a motion as outlined on page 2, using the exact wording that's in that outline. And then just with the following addition, if it is a high noise tenant in the section facing north of Building C, contractor to work on noise mitigation in liaison with our planning director.
Okay. And
I'll second.
Okay. And the motion passes, it is adopted. Thank you guys for taking a few minutes with us, we appreciate it, good luck with the project.
And
Looks great.
Yeah, I'm excited that you guys have got a big area. It's gonna look consistent now instead of several different parcels. It does look great, so.
I think so too. Yeah. Very good. Do we have any reports? Director?
yeah, just a couple items. We have nothing scheduled for the January meeting, so we will do our reorganization in February. We do have a couple projects for February's meeting. At that time, we'll do the reorganization. I'm not sure exactly where we'll be at in the process of selecting a new planning commissioner. That's kind of up to the mayor. We'll have to probably interview some and stuff. So not sure if we'll have a new commissioner at that point or not. So hang in there for that one. And just a really quick note for abstaining for the minutes. I've gone through this with several other committees that I'm on as well. If you're not in attendance at a meeting, if you read the minutes, you can still vote on them even though you weren't here. So if you've read through the minutes, you can vote on the minutes for approval. Just a little tidbit of
know that.
information for you guys.
Thank you.
Just in case it gets closer next time.
Yeah, I mean, 3-2, we squeaked it by with the approving the minutes. But So if you've read the packet and read through the minutes, you can vote on the minutes.
Excellent, thank you. Any commissioners' reports?
I hear that Mitzi's got a military son who's visiting from the state of Washington, and that if we extend our meeting for too long, we might all get in trouble with the U.S. Army.
Let's not do that.
No, okay.
All right, seeing none, then we are adjourned.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Is that a record?